welcome all of you in this third online event our Translation Chamber is arranging today. And it was relevant for our Executive President of the Chamber, Sri Praveen Bhai Lunkad, to specifically ask to conduct this particular today's seminar. It's not seminar, it is webinar, because I am still accustomed more with the live shows. I think our Hindustan government has taken a very apt policy to drastically change the outdated education system which was existing for this period. And then Praveen Bhai said, okay, last event was very successful. So he asked me to be in touch with Dr. Uday Nirgurkar, who is going to convene the whole evening today. He is the master of ceremony today. So while welcoming you all, I hand over charge in the hands of Dr. Uday Nirgurkar.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sanjay Bhide, and a warm welcome to all the dignitary panelists as well as distinguished members, those who have joined for this webinar. This word we are now we'll have to get accustomed with, because there will be more number of webinars than seminars, I guess, organized by Translation Chamber of Commerce and Industries on the most relevant topic today, which is National Conference on Changed Education Policy of Hindustan Government. I'm very happy that the Chamber has given a wonderful list of distinguished panelists with me. Just I have received biodatas of quite a few of them, and they are so illustrious and so long that perhaps the entire show would go in perhaps describing each and everybody. But still, I would still like to make a couple of comments about each one of them. Mr. Praveen Lunkad, who was there in the last as a last panelist also, and is an accomplished educationist as well as businessman. He's executive president of TACCI as well as managing director of Pranav Group of Companies. He brings along with him decades of experience in managing complex various affairs, and especially related to education. I welcome him. Dr. A.D. Sawant, quite well-known face in Mumbai and academia of Maharashtra and India in particular. He's a former Pro-Vice Chancellor of Mumbai University and former Vice Chancellor of Rajasthan University, and he brings along with him a rich experience of almost 4 decades in higher education. Then I have Dr. Sanjay Deshmukh. I have the honor to know him from his college days. He was my senior and one of the most brilliant seniors I had in my college. He's a former Vice Chancellor of Mumbai University, which has about 8 lakh students, and has done number of research credits to his name. One of the fine intellectuals in the field of education. I welcome him. We also have Dr. Geetali Tilak. I am not able to see her, but I'm just mentioning her name. She's the Dean of Tilak Maharashtra Vidyapeeth, which has its unique place in India, and especially in the area of quality education from Pune. I welcome Geetali also. We have Dr. Sandhya Purecha, a very well-known name in the field of performing arts. She's a principal of Bharat College of Fine Arts and Culture, who has been nurturing talents in fine arts, in performing arts especially, for over 3 decades now. And many of her students and disciples have really done marvel in the field of dance and other forms of performing arts. I welcome you, madam. We have Dr. Shaila Subbaraman. She is the former professor at Walchand Institute of Technology, and she brings with her a rich knowledge in academics as well as technology-based education. I welcome you, Shaila Subbaramanji. We have Dr. Pradeep Mahajan. Pradeep Mahajan is a visiting faculty to various medical colleges, and has a rare distinction of being a specialist in stem cell science. So I welcome him also. He brings rich experience along with him. Dr. Abhay Wagh, he is the Director of Technical Education, Government of Maharashtra, which actually governs the technical education in the state, and he will be bringing him with him the government perspective on this plan. We have Sri B.B. Jadhav, popularly known as Balasaheb Jadhav. He's a retired principal of Poddar schools with many credits to his name. I welcome you, sir. Balasaheb, apnar swagat. We have Dr. S.N. Pathan. S.N. Pathan is a very well-known academician for his excellence in higher education. He's a former Vice Chancellor of Nagpur University, and I welcome him. We have Pandit Vidyadhar Vyas. Vidyadhar Vyas is the name, in fact, the name Vyas is synonymous with Guru in our rich cultural tradition, and that's what he brings along with him. He's the head of music at Mumbai University. I welcome Panditji. We have Mr. Anil Gore. Anil Gore is synonymous with the movement of Marathi. मराठीचा आग्रह आणि मराठीचा अभिमान या दोन्ही गोष्टींचं मूल्यवर्धन करण्यात त्यांचं योगदान अतिशय मोलाचं आहे. He is an educationist and promoter of Marathi language. I welcome him. We have Professor V.N. Rajshekharan Pillai. V.N. Rajshekharan Pillai is the Chancellor of ICFAI University and as well as the Vice Chancellor of Somaiya University at Mumbai. So I welcome him, and all the technical assistance for this entire conclave or webinar is provided by Dr. Vaishali Wade of the Chamber of Commerce, and she also comes with an education background, and I really thank her for her tremendous support, without which this webinar would not have been possible. At the outset, again, just to give a brief how this webinar will be unfolded, is that there will be some couple of a minute or so introductory remarks by me, and then sector-wise, as per the subject matter expertise, we will have question answers, and some of the member participants will be also sending in their questions through chat, and if possible, I would love to take them as I progress. Friends, education is the only tool to transform the destiny of the nation. Given the cultural diversity of this country and the problems of universal access of education, on one hand, to the super excellence achieved by some of the IITs and RECs and other college which teaches philosophy and arts and theatre, still lot was needed to be done in the field of education in a country which is becoming young and young day by day. When the average age of the Western world is taking the membership of the Senior Citizen Club, it is the China and India, these are the tigers of Asia, those who are becoming young and young. Thus, the sun is rising on the eastern horizon. We have the challenge to have ensure the inclusive and equitable quality education and promote lifelong learning by 2030 as objective set by the National Education Policy, which has been passed by the cabinet recently and will now be available for a debate in the parliament as and when the parliament is convened. As we go to debate this in today's webinar, we have a varied changing world scenario, never so dynamic and never so crucial, if I can use the word critical also. We have the last philosophy coming back in 1986, which was modified in 1992. So practically, we can talk about 32 years of gap. And what sweeping changes have taken place in terms of technology. 32 years back, there was no Google, there was no mobile, there was no GPS, there was no online platforms, there was no online payment. There were not so many schools and colleges and universities as were present in 1986. But today, we have all this in place, plus the challenges of climate, epidemic, changing employment scenario, and not to mention of tremendous employment scarcity, which is looming on our head. At the same time, we have school education when the right to education was established in 2009, still the school dropout rate and those who are left away from the school, those who are denied the universal access to education is also a big challenge. So we have 10+2 is a kind of format which we were running for last about 40, 50 years. But now this is going to change. And so also the name of the ministry which is going to govern it will change from human resources development. As you all know, Mr. P.V. Narasimha Rao, who then later became the Prime Minister of the country in 1991, was the first HRD minister, and now the said ministry will be again called as Education Ministry. As you all know, the education system has been marked as an exam driven. On the other hand, be it the report from Asar Pratham, the quality education of the schools and the pathetic standard of graduates coming out of the universities and colleges has also been a matter of worry. On the other hand, whether it is merit good or not merit good, whether education should be profit making or should be only considered as an NGO, how much to control, how to govern, how much technology, how to do teacher training, how to give access to everyone, what should be the priorities, all this gets addressed in this wonderful document presented few days back and approved by the cabinet. Let's discuss this all. We have Dr. Pradeep Mahajan with us. Dr. Pradeep Mahajan, can you hear me in first place? Dr. Pradeep Mahajan? Dr. Pradeep Mahajan, can you hear me?
Yes, Dr. Uday, I can hear you. I can hear you.
Yeah. You come with a unique background of associated with medical education. Now you heard about the kind of changes which are taking place in the regulatory mechanism. In the medical education, there is Medical Council of India, there is Ayush Mantralaya, there is a separate Arogya Vidyapit which is there. We have variety of pathies. Allopathy is there, Ayurveda is there, Unani is there, homeopathy is there. We have a duration of the courses, medicine courses, which was debated कि क्या 5.5 साल की जरूरत है and all that. So what is your take? MCI का क्या होगा? क्योंकि MCI के बहुत सारे लोगों को करप्शन में तो पकड़ा गया था, बहुत सारे करोड़ उनके पास पाए गए थे. Let me not get into that. But what happens to MCI and what happens to the duration of the courses and how it gets integrated as a holistic approach of treatment?
Sir, this is not coming under the NEP, to be frank. Medical education.
Let me, Dr. Pillai, let me tell you. Dr. Pillai, NEP has kept legal and medicine out of NEP.
Out of it.
I agree with you. But definitely remember one thing.
Yeah.
It is integrated part of a NEP as a separate National Medical Commission.
Yeah.
It should not be like.
You agree with me. So first of all, let me thanks to Udayji. You have really done a wonderful presentation with all of us, taking ahead to the proper linkage of all the systems. But remember, before I go ahead with the medical education talk here, something about the policies with different pathies. We all know, with eminent panelists today, education is the foundation for every country. Similarly, health is equal a strong foundation of that country. I hope everyone will agree with my concept. This globalization of education has taken place with NEP. Similarly, National Medical Commission, which was passed as a bill in August 2019, is a integrated part of the national education policy now. Because there are two aspects here. National education policy has given a good opportunity of flexibility of those students which can change over commerce to science, science to any other science, any other or commerce, and then again come back to medicine, to take into medicine. Because earlier there was a fixed rigid program in which getting into medicine means you have to take a science. Major and minor subjects given opportunity now. Now, this is going to take a massive transformation by the National Medical Commission. There are positive points, there are negative points when we talk. By scrapping MCI, though definitely it was an elected body, now this NEP is a nominated body, having a variety of representations. So the opportunities of managing this education in the form of regulation, in the form of governance, in the form of making universal application of all the states, and at the same time of establishing a syllabus is going to make definitely impact on the medical education. In fact, there are opportunities which are going to change with the NMC, National Medical Policy. There are bad part which I said is that when we talk of, as Dr. Udayji you mentioned, allopathy, homeopathy, Ayurveda, all these different pathies are run by different boards as on date. The reason was their foundation of education was different. Ayurveda foundation is different, homeopathy foundation is different, allopathy foundation is different of learning, Unani is different. Now, when we integrate this science, if you see, National Medical Commission has made compulsory all these kind of pathies together for some of the educational plan. Now, it is going to be a very big disaster. Allopathy science based on new pharmacopoeia cannot go back to Ayurveda to understand the basic foundation of Ayurvedic medicine. So these pathies which are mixed up together by Ayush, which is going to be a little difficult challenge. We don't know really how it is going to take place, but there is a challenge in this.
Yeah,
when as a medical doctor, when I interact with my colleagues, sorry, Udayji, you were talking something.
No. That's a very valid point. I said you raised about how these pathies are going to converge together.
It is very challenging thing because Ayurveda has a different, homeopathy you see is an absolutely different foundation.
Yeah.
And if you see, if you write Ayurveda, homeopathy you cannot write as a medicine. But there are again side reactions in that. And you are making in one group which is challenged. I don't know the future of this policy particularly. But there are good parts of it also. Good parts. Because it has globalized. It has the way you had a question that whether we require 4.5 years. US requires 8 years for the graduate program of medicine. The science of medicine particularly is not a science of which can be learned in textbook. It's an experience in the wards. It's an experience in the wards. Now here, positive thing is that this particularly program has broad clinical experience to start with the first year, which is a very good syllabus. Going to give a clinical experience in the first year. But at the same time, they have added one more curriculum here, which is a foundation program of 1 month, which they can call as something very different ATCOM, which teaches attitude, behavioral, culture, patient, program of the hospitals, which gives 1 year foundation, which is very important. In our current program, it was not there at all. So the student getting into directly from a standard science college to a medicine was a different 6 months used to get to acclimatize for him. Now here, this foundation program, which is called ATCOM, attitude, ethics, communication skills with the patient, modules to understand, is going to change. The student is going to get accommodated in the medicine system.
Correct.
This is a good positive point. There are
Correct.
Good part and bad part, which I'll put both together. Then in the syllabus, what they have done, syllabus they have reduced from 4.5 to 4.2 months or something, 4 years, something like that, which is going to affect the clinical side, which they should have kept a little longer clinical side, which is very important because exposure of a training in the wards, because I call wards the temples of medicine, where actually textbooks are giving guideline to you. But when you spend time in the ward, you learn your experience of various presentation of various diseases, because there is no single disease which has got similar signs and symptoms.
Correct.
Everything is a verity, and that comes from the experience. So time frame which is reduced is not very appreciated here, which I would say rather they should have enhanced little more time for the experience of wards, which is reduced. Then the fourth most valid point they have done, very good point, is about the educational admission processes. There is one standard process of admission, which is now they have put in an NEET examination, which was earlier was also there, but some of the states they used to not follow, but now it has been compulsorily made.
Correct.
So the standard of admission will be monitored, but it is again a challenge for urban and rural students. Rural and urban students, there's a good challenge here, but will be applicable for a good cause. There is some second examination they have applied in the 4th year, which is called as the next or NEST next examination. This examination is going to make a very good opportunity for the students to prepare for postgraduate admissions. Now, what have they have done in a 4th year? This next examination is an exit examination where they're exiting from a basic education to the master's or going to the clinical practice. That's why you call them as the exit examination. They have given this examination opportunity for almost all those foreign graduates, those who do basic medicine in China, Russia, or any other country which are not approved by Basic National Medical Commission or earlier MCI.
Okay. Yeah.
So the 4th year examination, which prepares for them 2 parts, part 1 of the next examination, part 2 of the examination. While you are appearing for your clinical course of clinical examination for surgery, medicine, gynec, OBGY, ENT, opthal, that time you are being prepared for MCQ examinations of part 1 next examination, which will give an opportunity to get the same preparation what otherwise in earlier came. After MBBS, you have to prepare for postgraduate entrance examination.
Correct. So there are some
double
good
efforts
points.
for the student is to get mad.
There are some good points, as you rightly say. There are some good points as well as there are some areas of concern.